Welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies, SOITS, Postgraduate Diploma in Environmental and Occupational Health, PGDEOH. MEV002 Environmental and Occupational Hazards. Block 1 Natural Hazards. Unit 2 Earthquake Adds and Volcanoes. Look at The 2.0 Introduction. Natural geological phenomena such as earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, landslides, avalanches, and volcanic eruptions have haunted mankind from time immemorial. Earthquake literally means shaking of the earth. The occurrences of earthquakes have been mentioned in the ancient European, Greek, Chinese and Indian scripts. They attributed the shaking of earth to the movement. Giant creatures dwelling underneath the ground such as serpents, turtles, etc. The philosophers before the medieval period have mentioned about the devastation caused by the earthquakes. It is important to mention Greek philosopher Aristotle attempted to explain earthquake with the concept of winds blowing in the underground caves within the earth in 330 BCE, and his view was widely accepted till the 15th century. Agnew, 2002. The Great Lisbon earthquake of 1755 and the destruction it brought along set the impetus for scholars in the 18th century to give serious scientific reasoning for the cause of earthquakes. The devastation caused by seismic waves was always felt, but it was in 19th century that the branch of seismology evolved, and a systematic study of earthquakes started. Prediction of an earthquake startled the geoscientists and seismologists until 1960s. The plate tectonic theory was a big respite to the seismologists. Seismographs were devised which could accurately measure the seismic waves and their intensities, and large number of seismic observatories with seismographs were set up to locate the earthquakes. The seismology also helped in identification of seismic zones around the globe, based on plate movements with respect to each other and the mammoth data collected from seismic observatories throughout the world. This helped the seismologists in identifying locations vulnerable to earthquakes. Accordingly, scientists and local governments have devised measures to reduce the destruction caused by earthquakes and made people aware of how to cope up with this natural calamity in sensitive areas prone to earthquakes. 2.1 Objectives. After reading this unit on earthquakes, you should be able to understand the causes of earthquakes, list the vulnerable locations on Earth prone to earthquakes, appreciate the significance of plate tectonics in understanding the shallow and deep foci earthquakes, learn the concept of epicenter, focus and magnitude of earthquake, and recognize the nature of destruction earthquake brings along and how its effects are enhanced if tsunami, landslides, fire etc. are triggered by it. Define volcano and associated volcanic features. Classify volcanoes based on their varied characteristics. Explain the causes of volcanism. Show spatial distribution of volcanoes on world map. Understand evaluate the natural hazards caused by volcanism. Describe role of volcanism in climate change, and recognize the effects of volcanism on environment and occupation. 2.2 Causes of earthquakes. The myths about the causes of earthquakes were put to rest with scientific quest, reasoning and understanding of the makeup of the internal structure of the planet Earth. The plate tectonic theory was propounded by John Tuzo Wilson, a Canadian geophysicist and geologist, in the year 1965. This theory advocates the idea that the rigid lithosphere, crust and upper part of mantle, is broken into 13 major plates and numerous smaller plates which are continuously in motion over the weaker ductile asthenosphere. The plate tectonic theory gained momentum by the end of 1970s and was widely accepted by seismologists to explain earthquakes vis-a-vis plate boundaries. 2.2.1 Types of plate boundaries. Let us examine the types of plate boundaries and plate motions in order to quickly recapitulate theory of plate tectonics. These plate boundaries are associated with large-scale geologic features such as volcanic and island arcs, and mid-ocean ridges. Thus the plate boundaries are the locations where earthquakes, volcanoes, rifts, fault occur. 3 types of plate boundaries have been documented on account of movement of plates with respect to each other. 1. Divergent plate boundary, opening of new oceanic crust when 2 plates diverge from each other, e.g., Mid-Atlantic Ridge. 2. Convergent plate boundary, plates collide with each other as a result. Lighter plate overrides and the denser plate gets subducted into the mantle. Volcanic and island arcs, e.g. Andes Mountain, Indonesian arc. 3. Transform faults, plates slide past each other, San Andreas Fault, U.S. Transform faults offsetting the mid-oceanic ridges. 2.2.2 Concept of stress, strain and rock failure. The plate motion is responsible for the above 3 types of plate boundaries. These boundaries are the sites of enormous stresses operational in between the plates. The stress is defined as force exerted per unit area and is responsible for strain which causes the brittle rocks to deform. The brittle rocks can withhold stress up to a critical limit beyond which they fail and results in faulting, breaking, of rocks. The faulting results in displacement, slip, of rocks on both sides of the fault, and cause an earthquake. Most earthquakes have been attributed to geologic faults, and when there is sudden displacement along the faults, slip, energy in form seismic waves is released. Many faults active in the past and are still active, e.g., San Andreas Fault, USA. The faults can also be hidden beneath the surface of the earth and have not been exposed on the surface of the earth are called blind faults. The active faults are concentrated mostly along plate boundaries where stress and strain are operational on a large scale by plate movements. 2.2.3 Focus and epicenter. Focus is the point inside the earth where an earthquake initiates, and the point directly above the focus on the surface of the earth is defined as an epicenter. The rupturing of the fault starts from the focus and travels along the fault surface up to the surface, i.e. epicenter, and at times the rupturing does not reach the surface in case of blind faults. The intensity of the stresses and nature of the rocks define the extent of faulting. The faulting ceases where the stresses become mellow or where the rocks are more competent to be affected by stresses, and also where material becomes ductile. Minor earthquakes which occur on everyday basis along the plate boundaries are low magnitude earthquakes, so they fail to rupture the ground surface. The large earthquakes with high magnitude have the potential to rupture faults for 1000s of km and can cause displacement of rock blocks on either side of the fault on scale of tens of meters. San Andreas Fault in 1906 is a classic example of transform fault, where the Pacific and American plate moved past each other and the earthquake developed a slip of almost 10 meters. Everyday earthquakes in the San Andreas Fault zone varying in magnitude as low as less than 1 are recorded. 2.2.4 Seismic waves, P.S. and surface waves. The energy released during an earthquake is in form of seismic waves. The seismic waves trigger outwards from the focus of the earthquake where the rupture initiates. The seismic waves are of 3 types, viz. P waves or the primary waves, S waves or the secondary waves, and surface waves. P waves are compressional waves and propagate like sound waves. The P waves are the fastest of all the 3 types of seismic waves and can travel through solid, liquid and gaseous materials. These waves travel at a speed of 6 km/sec through the solid rock of Earth's crust. Both P waves and S waves travel through Earth's interior. The S waves are transverse waves and are slower than the P waves. Unlike P waves, S waves can only travel through solid materials. They cannot pass through liquids, molten materials or gases. The S waves travel at a speed approximately half that of P waves through Earth's crustal. Compared to mid-ocean ridges, The largest, in terms of magnitude, and deep. Greater than 600 km deep focus, earthquakes rock the convergent plate boundaries, e.g. Sumatra earthquake of 2004, Chile earthquake of 1960. Most of the earthquakes occurring at convergent plate margins are also responsible for tsunamis that cause havoc at the coastlines. Tsunamis are large sea waves, which can be generated by displacement of seafloor initiated by large earthquakes affecting seafloor. Tsunamis are also triggered by large-scale. 2.3 Location OFAN earthquake. Epicenter and focus. Seismic waves emanate as a result of sudden faulting move out from the focus. They are recorded by an instrument called seismograph. Seismograph record all the three types of seismic waves and are extremely helpful in delineating the location of epicenter and focus of an earthquake. The velocity relationship between the three types of seismic waves is used to calculate the distance of an epicenter from the seismic observatory where a seismograph is housed. We know that P waves are the fastest and are recorded first by the seismograph, followed by S and surface waves. A seismologist uses the time difference in the arrival of the three types of seismic waves with respect to the velocity to calculate the distance of epicenter from a seismic observatory. More the difference in the arrival time of P, S and surface waves greater the distance between the seismic observatory and the epicenter. Using the recorded time interval at a seismic station with the known travel time curves, it is possible to delineate the distance between a seismic observatory and the earthquake epicenter. To locate the focus and epicenter of an earthquake, the seismic data from 3 or more seismographs is collected. The distances calculated from individual seismographs from at least 3 seismographic observatories can locate the focus. Using the above information, it is also possible to detect the time at which the earthquake occurred in an investigated area. Data pertaining to the earthquake is collected from these seismic observatories helps us in knowing its epicenter, depth of focus and time of origin. The seismic observatories are well equipped with sophisticated instruments with state-of-the-art sensors and large quantity of data. 2.4 Measuring the size of an earthquake. Magnitude of an earthquake is very important to measure besides detecting the epicenter, depth of focus and time of origin of an earthquake. Magnitude of an earthquake depends on the intensity of the P, S and surface waves which cause shaking of the ground. The magnitude of an earthquake also speaks of the volume of destruction an earthquake can cause. For example, earthquakes of magnitude 2/3 causing no devastation are happening all the time in seismically active zones, but an earthquake with magnitude greater than 6 can be destructive. Richter magnitude was devised by an American seismologist, Charles Richter, in 1935. It is a scale for measuring the ground movement of an earthquake. He assigned a numerical size, 1 to 10, to each earthquake on a logarithmic scale based on the amplitude of ground movement caused by the seismic waves and recorded by a seismograph. For example, earthquakes of magnitude 2 and 3 differ in terms of ground movement by a factor of 10, i.e. the earthquake of magnitude 3 will cause ground movement 10 times more compared to magnitude 2 earthquakes. Thus, earthquake with magnitude 3 will be more destructive than magnitude 2. Likewise, if we compare earthquakes of magnitude 6 and 8, magnitude 8 earthquake will cause 100 times more ground movement compared to earthquake of magnitude 6. We can classify volcanoes and volcanic eruption on the basis of nature and extent of volcanism as discussed below. 2.8.5 On the basis of frequency of volcanic eruptions. We can classify volcanic eruption on the basis of frequency into 3 types: active, passive, dormant. Active volcanoes can erupt at any time. Active volcanoes keep erupting lava and/or gas, even generating seismicity. Examples: Barren Island in the Andaman Islands, India; Sakurajima volcano, Japan; Mayon in Albay, Philippines. Volcanoes Kilauea and Mauna Loa on the island of Hawaii. Dormant volcanoes have not been known to erupt for a long time but could erupt again in the future. Examples: Mount Apo and Mount Isarog, Philippines. Extinct volcanoes have not been erupted since historic times. An extinct volcano is one which has been dormant for more than 10,000 years. Example: Mount Kenya in Kenya, Mount Ashitaka in Japan, Dhinodhar Hills in Gujarat, India. Ghosi Hill in Haryana, India. Are volcanoes always active? No, they are active during their early stage. Volcanoes, like other landforms, pass through 3 stages in their life cycle. The early stage is the active stage as it has frequent eruptions, then becomes dormant, i.e. sleeping stage, and finally the old stage, i.e. extinct stage, which is represented by long historic periods of inactivity. 2.8.6 On the basis of morphology, appearance. Volcanoes vary in size and shape, with some showing perfect cone shapes, while others are deep depressions. Fig. 2.1. Some have steep slopes whereas others have very gentle slopes. Fig. 2.1. Different types of volcanoes on the basis of morphology. Shield. Look at the screen. Shield. These volcanoes are characterized by broad, flattened dome-like shape, with the convex side up. Thus, they have low, rounded profiles. These are formed almost entirely of mafic lava flows having low viscosity that cools and form basalt. Because of this, lava flows easily and gradually spread over great distance in the form of thin layers with very gentle slopes. Slopes commonly range between 2 to 10 degrees. These dominantly comprise basalt lava flows and are most common in the ocean basins. These pose little danger to humans because the lava flows are sufficiently slow and quiet. Example: volcanoes Kilauea and Mauna Loa on the island of Hawaii. Composite stratovolcano. As the name suggests, these consist of pyroclastic layers as well as lava flows. They are made up of intermediate magma composition, i.e. andesite. These have steep slopes, i.e. as much as 30 degrees near their summits, but the slope reduces to less than 5 degrees towards the base. These are typical large volcanoes occurring on continents and island arcs. Volcanic mudflows called lahars are common on composite volcanoes. These volcanoes erupt regularly and sometimes very violently. Example: Fuji, Japan, Colima, Mexico, Nakondam and Barren Island in the Andaman Islands, India, Mayon volcano in the Philippines. Lava domes. They are also known as volcanic domes or plug domes. Lava domes are viscous bulbous masses of lava, dominantly consisting of felsic magma, occasionally may comprise intermediate magma. These form steep, sided mountains. Lava domes are one of the most dangerous and destructive because they erupt violently and explosively. Examples: lava domes Augustine and Mount St. Helens, USA, and Unzen volcano, Japan. Mount Pelée on the island of Martinique. Caldera, when the volcanism is so explosive that the top of volcano is blown off and only little material builds up near the vent. Then the underlying magma chamber is partly or entirely removed. It further sinks or collapses under its own weight with time. This results in creation of a huge crater-like depression called caldera. This basin-like depression is roughly circular and several kilometers in diameter. It dominantly comprises rhyolitic magma. Caldera volcanoes are most dangerous but are uncommon. Many times calderas become sites of lakes. Examples: Yellowstone caldera in Wyoming, USA, Crater Lake. Caldera in Oregon, USA. Cinder cone. These volcanoes comprise particles resembling cinders which form when pyroclastic materials that accumulates around the volcanic vent. These are small, rarely exceed 400 meters high, and steep-sided conical hills. Many of these volcanoes represent final stage of volcanism and commonly form on the flanks or within calderas of huge volcanoes. For example, a small cinder cone volcano, Wizard Island in Crater Lake, Oregon, is the outcome of Mount Mazama whose summit collapsed to form a caldera. Examples: cinder cone volcanoes Eldfell in Iceland and Parikatan in Mexico. Three major types of volcanoes are composite, shield and cinder cone volcanoes. They differ from each other significantly in composition and in their overall shape. For example, shield volcanoes comprise basaltic magma and are broad with very low slopes, whereas cinder cone volcanoes comprise dominantly rhyolitic magma and are small, steep-sided conical hills. In contrast, composite volcanoes comprise andesitic magma and are steep-sided near their summits but becomes very gentle towards base. 2.8.7 On the basis of tectonic settings. Different types of volcanoes have been classified on the basis of their occurrence along tectonic plate margins. Fig. 2.2. Subduction volcano. These occur on continental margins or island arcs along subduction zones where the edge of one plate thrusts beneath another plate. They comprise 80% of active volcanoes and are most explosive and destructive in nature. Examples: Barren Island, India; Volcano Vesuvius, Italy; Circum-Pacific Ring like Pinatubo, Philippines; Mount Fuji, Japan; Mount St. Helens, USA, are some other examples. Rift volcano. This is generally less explosive and occurs along divergent spreading plate boundaries, particularly on the ocean floor. Example: volcanoes in the African Rift Valley. Hot spot volcano. They are not related to tectonic plates and can occur at great distances from plate boundaries. They form above hot mantle plumes, upwellings which rise due to convective processes operating within the Earth's mantle. These occur in both oceanic and continental regions. Example: volcanoes of Hawaii and Yellowstone in USA. 2.8.8 On the basis of volcanic eruption style, strength. The explosive and effusive nature of a volcanic eruption also depends on how easily magma can flow and the amount of trapped gas. They can be grouped into two: destructive, explosive. Gas-driven eruptions are explosive which propel magma and tephra. Large amounts of water and carbon dioxide are dissolved in magma, causing it to behave in a similar way to gas expanding in fizzy drinks, which forms bubbles and escapes after opening. As magma rises quickly through the Earth's crust, gas bubbles form and expand up to 1000 times their original size. They are characterized by voluminous lava flows and the magma is sticky, less fluid, with lots of gases. Extreme, violent eruptions eject pyroclastics. Heavy particles settle near crater, whereas lighter particles can be deposited hundreds of miles away by the action of wind. Examples: climatic eruption of Pinatubo, Philippines, in 1991. Non-destructive, effusive. These form quiet emissions of lava. Such types of eruptions are characterized by lava outpouring without significant explosion, due to lesser quantities of gases and so are more fluid. Example: Kilauea, Hawaii. Can volcanic eruptions be measured? Volcano Explosivity Index, VEI, is used to measure strength of volcanic eruptions, which is a simple descriptive index ranging from 0 to 8. The volume of material erupted with the height of an eruption plume column and the duration of the eruption are considered irrespective of fatalities and property damage. 2.8.9 On the basis of different mechanisms of eruptions. There are three different major mechanisms through which volcanic eruptions arise. Magmatic eruptions are the most well documented, which are driven by the decompression of gas within magma. Phreatomagmatic eruptions are driven by the compression of gas within magma. In other words, thermal contraction from due to chilling process on contact with water cause these types of volcanic eruptions. Phreatic eruptions are driven by superheating of steam when contacted with magma. Several subtypes of these major eruptions include Icelandic, Hawaiian, Strombolian, Vulcanian, Vesuvian, Cratertomb, Pelion, Plinian eruptions which are shown in Figure 2.3. Fig. 2.3, various subtypes of volcanic eruptions. Look at the screen. Chemically, magmas are further subdivided which greatly influences volcanic eruptions. Basaltic magmas are rich in elements such as Mg, Ca and Fe with about 50% silica, and rhyolitic magmas are rich in alkali elements such as Na, K and as much as 75% silica. There are many other magma types. Intermediate between basaltic magma and rhyolitic magma, the most common being andesitic magmas. Basaltic magmas are less viscous compared to andesitic and rhyolitic magmas. 2.8.10 Causes of volcanism. In simplest way, scientists explain that movement of plates actually causes earthquakes and volcanoes, volcanism. However, for a layman to understand what actually causes a volcano to form or volcanism to take place, think of a chimney of fireplace, furnace. The chimney acts a favorable passage which allows smoke out of the house due to energy source below. In the case of a volcano, chimneys are the zones of structural weakness, fissures, conduits, and hot magma chamber inside Earth's mantle is the fireplace, furnace. Therefore, presence of a magma chamber or molten rock reservoir is the basic requisite for the origin of volcanoes. Now question arises that from where comes the energy for these rocks to remain molten and in constant flux inside the earth? Deep interior the earth, various radioactive substances generate a lot of heat through varied chemical reactions and therefore keep the molten, semi-molten material, i.e. magma, in constant flux. Also, this magma is under sufficiently high pressure and the various gases create outward pressure. This when combined with the friction of the moving tectonic plates and even the crust of the earth results in rising of the magma from the mantle to the earth's surface, causing volcanic eruptions. Intensity of volcanic eruption depends on the composition, buoyancy and viscosity of the magma as well as pressure from the gases in the magma. The erupted material can be liquid rock, gas, ash and/or cinders, which gives rise to different types of volcanoes and volcanism as already been discussed. The three important ways by which magma rises to the surface and causes volcanism are along divergent plate boundaries, convergent plate boundaries and intraplate, hotspot volcanism. Magma rises to fill up the space between diverging tectonic plates, i.e. tectonic plates which slowly move away from each other. This commonly forms underwater, seafloor volcanoes which are called rift volcanoes and are generally less explosive. Magma also rises when tectonic plates move toward each other or along convergent plate boundaries. This forms subduction volcanoes which are the most explosive in nature. Another way that magma rises is over hot spots. As the name sounds, hot spots are hot areas inside Earth. These areas heat up magma, because of which it becomes less dense and therefore rises up. 2.9 Geographic distribution of volcanoes. There are about 1500 potentially active volcanoes in the world which have been erupted in the last 10,000 years. The distribution of these volcanoes is such that they are located on or near tectonic plate boundaries, particularly convergent, i.e. destructive, and divergent, i.e. constructive, plate boundaries. Active volcanoes commonly occur close to the major tectonic plate boundaries. Following are the major areas of active volcanoes. I. Circum-Pacific region around the Pacific Ocean, also known as Ring of Fire. E. Southern Europe. E. Along mid-Atlantic ridge. IV. East coast of Africa. However, majority of the world's active volcanoes occur in well-defined belts rather than random occurrence. Majority of active volcanoes are located in and around the Pacific Ocean and others are in the Mediterranean belt across the Mediterranean Sea, Alpine Himalayan belt and in the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. The Circum-Pacific belt is known as the Ring of Fire because of the largest number more than 60% of active volcanoes. It includes volcanoes in the Andes of South America, volcanoes in the Alaska, volcanoes of Central America, Mexico, and Cascade Range of North America, volcanoes in Japan as well as those of Philippines, Indonesia and New Zealand. The Mediterranean belt comprises the second region of active volcanoes. The Italian volcanoes like Mounts Etna and Vesuvius as well as the Greek volcano Santorini in this belt comprise 20% of all active volcanism. The African continent occupies third place having active volcano on the west coast, an extinct one in Mount Kilimanjaro, Tanzania, and several others in the Rift Valley belt, such as Nyiragongo in Zaire and Eta El in Ethiopia, passing through the Red Sea and extending up to Palestine. However, except Circum-Pacific and Mediterranean belts, all the remaining active volcanoes occur dominantly at or near mid-oceanic ridges or on the extensions of these ridges on continents, land. These largely include the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which is the longest of all mid-oceanic ridges located nearly in the center of the Atlantic Ocean basin, and East Pacific Rise. 2.9.1 Volcanoes of India. The Indian plate separated from the Gondwana and later collided with the Eurasian plate at about 50 ma ago to form the Himalayan mountain belt. Deccan trap volcanism took place about 66 ma ago by the Reunion hotspot, whereas subduction volcanism resulted in the formation of volcanoes in the Andaman Islands of India. Following are the major volcanoes of India. Barren Island volcano is located in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It was formed due to subduction of the Indian plate under the Burmese plate along the Andaman Trench. It is a kind of active stratovolcano with summit elevation of about 350 meters. Recent eruptions, i.e. February 17, 2017, have been reported at Barren Island volcano. Nakondam volcano is located in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, India, and is a kind of andesitic, dormant, stratovolcano with summit elevation of about 710 meters. Barren 1 volcano is an active mud volcano located in the Baratang Island of Middle Andaman Islands with summit elevation of about 76 meters. Deccan traps are located on the Deccan Plateau in the west-central India and represents approximately 66 ma ago volcanic eruption. It is considered to be an outcome of deep mantle plume and consists of multiple layers of flood basalt lava flows. Dhinudhar Hills are considered to consist of an extinct volcano located in Gujarat, India, with summit elevation of about 386 meters. Ghosi Hill is considered to consist of an extinct volcano located in the northwest end of Aravalli mountain range on the borders of Haryana and Rajasthan states of India, with maximum summit elevation of 1170 meters. 2.10 Volcanism and climate. Volcanism directly or indirectly affects Earth's climate at regional and/or global scale. It can significantly produce both long-term and short-term climatic changes. Indeed, it is considered as one of the important natural factors responsible for climate change at various timescales. For example, after the eruption of Mount Pinatubo in 1991, average global temperatures dropped to about 1 degree Fahrenheit for almost 2 years. Volcanism drastically changes gaseous composition of the atmosphere, resulting in increase in temperature of the atmosphere and blocking solar radiation, resulting in a decrease in temperature. Volcanism brings primary and secondary climatic hazards that must be identified and assessed accordingly. The change in climate ranges from ice age, global warming, and fire to raining mud. It not only affects the lower atmosphere, i.e. troposphere, but also the upper atmosphere, i.e. stratosphere, because large volcanic eruptions can significantly release ozone-depleting chemicals, particularly by injecting sulfur gases into the stratosphere. Even though volcanoes and volcanic chains occur at specific places on Earth, Their effects are widely distributed because gases, ash, and dust particles released easily spread into the atmosphere. Further, volcanic eruptions in the tropical belt can have a dominant effect on the climate in both hemispheres due to specific atmospheric circulation patterns. In contrary, volcanic eruptions occurring within mid or high latitudes only have impact on climate of the hemisphere they are within. In general, three major types of material injected through volcanism result in specific changes in climate. Three major types of material include particles of ash or dust, sulfur, and greenhouse gases. Particles of ash or dust. Explosive volcanic eruptions inject ash and tephra into the atmosphere, resulting in darkness of the atmosphere and cause temporary cooling. Falling volcanic ash accompanied with rainfall leads to raining mud. Huge concentration of volcanic ash into the atmosphere can be transported by prevailing winds hundreds to thousands of kilometers. This airborne ash in the atmosphere is one of the major hazards in civil aviation. The size and concentration of ash particles control the intensity and duration of cooling. Sand grain size ash particles stay closer to the volcano and have little effect on the climate because they remain into the atmosphere for only few minutes as they fall out of the air quickly. Tiny dust size ash particles usually reach lower, moist atmosphere and stay there for hours to days, forming ash cloud and cause darkness and cooling beneath. These particles are washed out of the atmosphere with rainfall. However, tiny ash particles travel faster, reach the dry upper atmosphere, the stratosphere, and remain there for months. They significantly affect climate as they block sunlight for longer duration, thereby causing cooling over large regions of Earth. Radar is the main navigation aid for aircraft. However, volcanic ash is not visible by radar, thereby damaging aircraft engines, and therefore the volcanic ash clouds pose major hazard in aviation. Sulfur. Volcanic eruptions can also release large amounts of sulfur in compounds like sulfur dioxide or sulfur oxides, which are by far much more effective in cooling of climate than the ash particles. Sulfur dioxide released from volcanic eruptions easily moves into stratosphere and there combines with water to form a haze of tiny droplets of sulfuric acid, aerosols. These tiny droplets cause cooling of the Earth's surface by reflecting larger percent of incoming solar radiation. These sulfur hazes eventually grow larger from tiny droplets and fall back to the Earth's surface. However, this takes years to happen as the stratosphere lacks sufficient moisture. It is believed that global cooling happened after Pinatubo and Tambora volcanic eruptions was due to these sulfur hazes. Greenhouse gases. Volcanic eruptions emit large amounts of greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide and water vapor, which could cause a temporary warming in climate. Global amounts of these gases do not very much change even after large volcanic eruptions because the atmosphere already comprises larger concentration of water and carbon dioxide. These have much significant indirect effects, like larger amounts of water vapor bring intense rainfall. Likewise, larger concentration of carbon dioxide either readily dissolves in the ocean or is absorbed by plants, leading to greater plant cover. Nevertheless, there have been times in Earth's history which records increased carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere due to intense volcanism triggered global warming. For example, multiple giant volcanic eruptions such as flood basalts over thousands to millions of years would cause significant global warming due to greater release of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. 2.11 Effects of volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruptions are considered as one of the Earth's great natural disasters. Many powerful eruptions not only change Earth's climate at varied timescales, but also pose threat to environment and health of exposed living beings as well as deterioration of social and economic conditions. Indeed, volcanic eruptions result in a wide range of health and occupational impacts. At least 500 million people worldwide live within exposure range of an active volcano. Further, atmospheric winds result in dispersion of volcanic gases and materials to areas hundreds or thousands of kilometers away from the place of volcanic activity. Airborne ash is a major hazard for aviation. Volcanic eruptions eject not only magma and steam, H2O, but also various other gases into the atmosphere like CO2, Colorado, SO2, H2, S, HCl, H2, CS, CS2, CH4, HBr, HF along with heavy metals as well as various other organic compounds. The hazardous effects of volcanic eruptions depend on the distance from volcano, magma, viscosity and composition, particularly gas concentrations. Volcanic hazards like pyroclastic flows, earthquakes, mud flows, lahars, gases and steam, blasts of air and tsunamis occur in the close vicinity of volcanoes. Whereas effects of toxic volcanic gases and ashes create problems of the respiratory system, skin, and eyes as well as psychological effects, injuries, water availability and pollution, transport and communication problems, waste disposal issues, collapse of buildings and power outage are some of the distant volcanic hazards. Further effects are abrupt changes in weather conditions, crop and vegetation damages, and destruction of other means of livelihood. Broadly, volcanic hazards can be divided into primary and secondary hazards. Primary hazards are the direct result of eruption, for example lava flows, lava bombs, tephra, pyroclastic flows, nui ardens, ash clouds and poisonous gases, whereas secondary hazards are those which have been caused due to primary hazards. For example acid rains, lahars, fires and climate change. All these hazards are discussed briefly in Table 2.1. Table 2.1, Various Volcanic Hazards, after Hansel et al., 2006. Look at the screen. 2.12 Summary. Seismology is a field and laboratory-based science of earthquakes. The earthquakes and the other natural hazards triggered by them such as tsunamis, landslides etc., which cause destruction and devastation of human life and property. The advancement in the field of seismology has led to many new concepts to explain the causes of earthquakes, contrary to the old beliefs and myths which were prevalent until 18th century. The better networking of seismic observatories, mammoth data on seismic events, generated through state-of-the-art seismographs, of the past and present has led to explain the vulnerable location on Earth which are prone to seismicity. The plate tectonics theory has been instrumental in delineating earthquake-prone zones on Earth. The plate boundaries which experience stress conditions due to movement of plates are the most vulnerable sites for earthquakes. To date, it is not possible to predict with certainty the location and time of an earthquake in spite of the enormous advancement in understanding of seismic activity around the globe. The governments of earthquake-prone countries have implemented various measures to mitigate the effects of earthquake destruction and have launched programs to educate people to deal with such natural calamities. Volcanoes are always a subject of fascination because they are one of the most dynamic geological features, believed to have created all the Earth's oceans and mountains. Further, they have the most varied health, occupation and environment hazards. Volcanoes greatly vary in shape, size, nature and extent of volcanism and so are divided into a number of types, however all consist of a magma chamber beneath the surface. Depending on the magma composition and percentage of gases in the magma, their eruptions vary. Presence of magma reservoir is the basic requisite for the origin of volcanoes and friction of moving tectonic plates and even the crust of the earth results in rising of magma from the mantle to the earth's surface causing volcanism. The energy for the same is from various radioactive substances as well as high pressure deep inside the earth. There are about 1500 potentially active volcanoes in the world and they Distribution of these volcanoes is such that they are located on or near tectonic plate boundaries, particularly convergent, i.e. destructive, and divergent, i.e. constructive, plate boundaries. The Circum-Pacific Belt is known as the Ring of Fire because of the largest number, more than 60%, of active volcanoes. Volcanism directly or indirectly affects Earth's climate at regional and/or global scale. It can significantly produce climatic changes for both long-term and short-term periods of time. Three major types of material injected through volcanism are particles of ash or dust, sulfur and greenhouse gases which result in specific changes in climate. The change in climate ranges from ice age, global warming, and fire to raining mud. It not only affects the lower atmosphere, i.e. troposphere, but also the upper atmosphere, i.e. stratosphere, because large volcanic eruptions can significantly release ozone-depleting chemicals, particularly by injecting sulfur gases into the stratosphere. Volcanic hazards can be divided into primary and secondary hazards. The hazardous effects of volcanic eruptions depend on the distance from volcano, magma viscosity and composition, particularly gas concentrations. Volcanic hazards like pyroclastic flows, earthquakes, mud flows, lahars, gases and steam blasts of air and tsunamis occur in the close vicinity of volcanoes. Whereas effects of toxic volcanic gases and ashes create problems of the respiratory system, skin and eyes, as well as psychological effects, injuries, water availability and pollution, transport and communication problems, waste disposal issues, collapse of buildings and power outage are some of the distant volcanic hazards. Further effects are abrupt changes in weather conditions, crop and vegetation damages, and destruction of other means of livelihood. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.